growing up, I think I was always quite the perfectionist. I was very diligent in my studies at school and always very focused on doing well. And I think a large part of my identity, who I was back then, was really centered around being the perfect student. You know, I wanted to be a high achiever. I wanted to be known as a high achiever. And I thought, this is a really good thing to be striving for, because, you know, the world tells you that successful people are to be admired and celebrated. So I really pursued that with a lot of passion, and a lot of hard work, I guess. And that hard work at school allowed me to be successful. And it felt great, receiving praise and recognition from people. I think anyone would enjoy that. And so I really carried this same attitude towards my studies when I started university. I chose to study civil engineering because I love physics and maths. And I was really enjoying university. I was doing well. But I think my obsession almost with being successful was to the detriment of many other areas in my life. I rarely attended life group. I often would miss Sunday morning services, and it was all because I was studying or working on an assignment, because to me the most important thing was to do everything perfectly and to do well. And during my second year of university, you know, I still had this same approach, but I think things started to change a little. I was realizing that I was in many ways just a number, and that, you know, I was a very small fish in a very big sea at university, and that most people didn't really know or care about who I was as a person or how well I was doing. And I really struggled with this. You know, this really challenged this big part of my identity. And around that same time, I was becoming more involved at church. I'd been connected a lot more with the young adults community. I had joined the worship team. And I was really loving these things. It was really adding a real positive influence to my life. So I think, you know, during this time of not really knowing where I was at, God was bringing up some really big questions in my life. We'd done a study in life group by John Bevere, Driven by Eternity. And I remember through that, I was thinking, you know, what am I doing in my life that has real eternal value? And I was starting to think, you know, am I glorifying God through my success, or am I just taking all this glory for myself? And then starting to think, you know, if I want to follow God's calling on my life, you know, how does that fit in with engineering? Is it even possible to use engineering for that? So the next year, I guess, was really defined by my search for greater purpose in what I was doing. And I distinctly remember one Sunday morning in the worship team, we were playing Oceans. And there's two lines in the bridge that really stood out to me that day. The first is, "Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders." And the second one is, "Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander." And as I was thinking about those words, I was thinking, like, I really want to experience this. You know, I haven't experienced this yet in life, but I want to be in a place where I just completely trust God. And so it really became my prayer that God would give me the opportunity to extend my faith to that level. And it wasn't long after that, actually, that I discovered the opportunity to intern with a Christian engineering organisation. So I took that to God in prayer and just felt this real certainty that, you know, that's what God wanted me to do. And I definitely did not feel prepared for that. I didn't think I had enough years of study under my belt, but I decided to take the leap of faith. And so last year I took a year off university, and I spent 4 months working in Uganda and 4 months working in India. I was working with an organisation called Engineering Ministries International. And they were founded by a Christian guy, a civil engineer who was doing hurricane relief work in South America. And as he was doing this work, he realized, you know, there's other Christian design professionals in the world who have this same skills and heart that he did to serve people, people who lacked basic needs like shelter and clean water. But there was just nothing out there to kind of facilitate these people to come together and do that work. And so he decided to form this organisation, and it's grown from there. During my internships, I was fortunate enough to work on the design of 2 school campuses. The one in Uganda is a primary school for children who are HIV positive, and the school in India is for quite a remote mountain village, and it's in a very tribal state of India. And these schools will both be Christian schools. They will be focused on meeting the spiritual and physical needs of the children in their care, but also raising up future Christian leaders in those areas. I would say the 8 months were a real test of my faith, I guess. I was really forced to rely completely on God during times when I felt way out of my depth. I was the only intern who hadn't graduated from university, and I was 3 to 4 years younger than everyone else working with me. And, I honestly felt terrified. I just felt so unqualified and unprepared for what I'd signed up for. I was thinking, I've done this too early. I should have waited a few years. And there was one day I remember I said to God, you've brought me here in this time, and I'm really going to need you to help me through this because I can't do it on my own. I think what I've learnt is that, throughout every challenge of that year, God was always faithful on his promise to me that he would not let me down. When you say yes to God, no matter the cost, he will always be there for you. Now that I've come home, I'm back at uni, back studying again. I always had that fear that I would return back to my old approach to things. But, I think I've noticed 2 really big changes in my life. The first is that, I've realised it's not about me or what I can do. I think, I came from a mindset where everything was about me and my ability. That was the most important thing in my life. But, I've realised that God doesn't really care about how capable or successful I am. He looks at the heart. He looks at my willingness and obedience to him. There's a saying I really like that says, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so I think it's really beautiful that, God called me at a time where I didn't have the knowledge myself. I couldn't rely on my own strengths like I used to previously. I had to rely on him. And it just showed me that, it's not about what I can do. He just looks inside at the heart and my willingness and obedience to him. I think the second thing I've really taken away from this year is I just have a real peace about my future. Previously, I was always very stressed and caught up in this sense at university that, it's a fight to get that best, highest paying job after you graduate. Everyone wants the best job, and then once you're in that job, people are focused on climbing the corporate ladder. It's all about chasing, I guess, success and money, and it's exhausting to always feel like you're in competition with other people. But I've realised that God already has a plan for me and my life, and it's a perfect plan, and it just relieves all of that pressure of feeling like I have to compare myself to others, compete with others. And I've just realised that as long as I submit my life to God, everything will go according to his plan and it will all be perfect.